હવે આપણે જે એને બતાવશું ને એ જ જોશે. આપણે એને બતાવી છે આ બતાવવાનું છે આપણે. હવે થોડીક વાર પછી ચેક કરો. યસ. કે સ્ક્રીન આવે છે કે તમારી કોઈ વસ્તુ બાકી નથી રહી.
આખી સ્ક્રીન નથી આવતી જો ને આ ઉપરનો જો તમે મેલ જો મેલની આગળ જે પેલું ઓપન સોફ્ટવેર વાળું છે તે નથી આમાં દેખાતું. એ પેલામાં કંઈક સેટિંગ હશે આ પ્લસ બટન
અવાજ નો આવે છે કે એ નહીં આવવું જોઈએ ને.
I'll be honest. Hello.
આ બાકીના બધા અમે ઓફ રાખે નહીં તો ઇકો આવશે એટલે
Hello.
ખાલી પેલા લોકો સાથે જ્યારે તમે વાત કરો અમે ટેસ્ટ કરી લીધું છે.
Mahendra bhai, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
So you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I'm checking because there is multiple setup. There are partially people sitting over here listening to me, and partially you'll be online. So I
Okay.
just checked. So I think that's fine, right? You can hear me properly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
But what about the screen? Have you got this angle
Yeah.
shot or you put another
That's
dial?
also done. You are also seen on the screen. Don't worry.
No. What I mean is, are you displaying something on the screen?
Pardon?
Are you going to be showing slides on the screen?
Yes. There will be presentation, and which you will be seeing it soon. Yeah, once the presentation will be shared, you will be seeing it.
But that will be through your laptop, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
how's it going, Percy? Everything well?
Be on permanently. Every time when somebody will speak, they will have to listen. If this is off, they will not be able to listen.
દેવ આ તમારો અવાજ ખાલી ત્યાં નહીં જાય
એટલે હું આ ઓન જ રાખું ને એમ કહું છું.
તમે ઓન જ રાખો પણ જ્યારે સ્ટાર્ટ થાય ત્યારે
નહીં એટલે ક્યારે કમલેશભાઈ બોલે ત્યારે બી આ સાથે જ હોવું જોઈએ. બસ સંભળાય.
ભાઈ તો અહીંયા આવીને બોલશો.
હા એટલે આ ઓન જ રાખું છું અત્યારે. હમણાં હું ઓફ રાખું.
Hello. Yeah, Mahendra bhai, are you audible? Mahendra, are you audible?
Yes, we are audible.
All right, thank you.
Maybe you okay?
Namaskar and Pura. A very good evening, dear Sarvajanik, dignitary on the rise, off the rise, and team members of InterNepInd Consortium. I, Professor Sanaa Maria, on behalf of Sarvajanik University and IDPT SCAD, take pride and privilege to welcome you all in the concluding event of the InterNepInd project of Erasmus Plus, co-sponsored by European Union. A step forward in internationalization of higher education institutions in Nepal and India. Learning is a lifelong process, and with this note and to initiate the event, may I please request Professor Hardik Gandhi, International Relations Officer, Sarvajanik University, to address the gathering with the welcome note.
Good evening. Good evening, one and all present here, and to my European friends, buenos dias. Here, I welcome everybody to the concluding session of InterNepInd project. Here, I would like to begin with my own journey that actually begins with a proverbial frog in the well from a Chinese fable. A frog was born and brought up in a well, and he knew that this is the only world that is possible to be explored. Once upon a time, the well dried up, and he realized that I need to go out and I need to explore what are the possibilities to survive. Then he actually jumped out of the well and tried to explore. He saw sunshine, he saw flowers, he saw the clouds, and actually the sunshine dimmed his eyes. He realized that there is a wide world to be explored. He realized that there are more opportunities to be explored, and that is how the survival begins. Then, basically, we went to Spain under the Erasmus mobility program with Professor Percy Engineer, with Professor Mahesh Nagecha, and Professor Mehul Patel. There, I explored, I absorbed, I learned a lot of things about the world that is prevailing in terms of education, in the field of education, in the field of knowledge. Then the InterNepInd project came to the university and we started doing the project. And I'm very glad to be part of this entire project and part of the team. Where I learned that to be a good teacher, it is not only important to deliver or impart the education, but also to motivate students with wider knowledge of exposure. That is what we learned from this project, and that is why we are trying to deliver the best to our students. It is said that education can solve most of the problems of the world. May it be the war which is going on, may it be the conflicts between people, everything can be solved through education. And I also believe that in order to deliver the best, we should get the exposure. There, the internationalization process begins. Before we initiate the entire internationalization process, it is very important to build the capacities, where UPCT and University of Aveiro were the people, were the partners, were the friends, were the guides, were the trainers who actually helped us and guided us to become or try to exploring the internationalization. Then what followed is the InterNepInd project, where actually we learned a lot of things about the kind of exposure that is required. Of course, this is the closing ceremony of this entire project, but it is not the end. It is actually the beginning of the entire journey that Sarvajanik University is going to take forward for the students and the teachers. Once again, I welcome everybody to this amazing event of InterNepInd project. Thank you.
Thanks much, Professor Gandhi, for the inspiring note. May I please request Mr. Rajesh Desai, Chairman, Sarvajanik Education Society, to extend greetings to Professor Durga Prasad Bhandari, NEC, Nepal.
Will you please come from that side, up on the stage? So, what's up, Great.
May I please request Mr. Kamlesh Yagnik, President, Sarvajanik University, to greet and welcome Dr. Ramesh Shrestha, SEC, Nepal. May I now please request Professor Percy Engineer, First Provost, Sarvajanik University, to welcome Professor Divya Danda, NMRC, Hyderabad. May I please request Dr. Hiren Patel, Principal SCAT Engineering, to welcome Professor Jyoti Gil, SMET, Vidyanagar. May I please request Dr. Jay Baldi, Registrar, Sarvajanik University, to extend greetings to Professor Shalini Barar, VEII, Mumbai. May I please invite Professor Bhavna Bhimawala, in charge principal, IDPT SCAT, to extend floral greetings to Professor Devan Parekh, IPSA, Rajkot. May I now invite Professor Mahesh Nagecha, HOD, SCAT Architecture, to greet Professor Hardik Gandhi, SCAT Architecture, Surat. To proceed further, may I please request Mr. Rajesh Desai, Chairman, Sarvajanik Education Society, to address the gathering.
People and faculty from Nepal and all special invitees. I feel honored and privileged to be here in this talkers gathering, especially as being host of this event. Connected. But the training of the to think clearly. Our founders, and ex officio of our result of this that we have grown up very successfully from one school to 18 school, 14 colleges of different streams, and 4 research center. And SCAT is one of those premium colleges. Like other premium colleges, as the first self-financed degree engineering and technology in the state of Gujarat, and it is also noteworthy to mention that activities SCAT has received various grants from EICT Delhi, which cost students in DC, etc. Rating. Who always believe in introducing innovative educational programs and to manage the same by maintaining the quality standard of education system. And the slogan of our university rightly reflect our vision for the years to come, which is inclusive, integrated, and innovative for creating an enlightened society. In view of the title given for the present program, that is InterNepInd, if we overview the relationship between India and Nepal, one can find both the countries as a close neighbors. The India-Nepal Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1950 forms the bedrock of a special relationship that exists between India and Nepal. In accordance with the provisions of the treaty, Nepal citizens avail facilities and opportunity on par with Indian citizens. Under educational and people-to-people exchange programs, India and Nepal extend visa-free entry in their respective territories to nearly 80 lakh Nepal citizens live. Program is concerned, I believe that the organization must have been able to meet with their expectations and fulfillment of their objectives. As we understood that there will be a short and long-term mobility at regional and international level and virtual mobility through online learning under opportunities to partner institutions, and there will be international research projects and institutional project between Nepal partners and our international network. Moreover, under institutional joint initiative, there will be double degree, joint PhD, joint academic activities, including
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. May I now please humbly invite Mr. Kamlesh Yagne, President, Sarvajanik University, to express his insight about the project.
Namaste. The value of this event has increased manifold because individuals, who have traveled distances coming from various cities and various countries. But here at Sarvajanik Education Society at Sarvajanik University, it is very, very important that today we have our president and vice president of Sarvajanik Education Society specially remain present to witness this occasion. So it's indeed a great moment for us. We also have our past president, Sri Ashit Bhai Gandhi, and two of our past chairmen who are here to witness this event. So it speaks the volume of seriousness what we have at Sarvajanik Education Society and Sarvajanik Education University. One person who traveled, n number of times to ensure that this particular program takes place. And today, I am sure he certainly, would have been here if we had no travel restrictions. This gentleman who traveled, who talked, who, persuaded that this particular program should be pursued, it should be followed. And this gentleman, sitting right in front of me, none other than our own Mahendra Bhai Mistry. Mahendra Bhai Mistry, I compliment you for becoming a bridge between India, Nepal, and European countries for this beautiful program.
Thank you, Yagnik Bhai.
InterNepInd, this consortium of 8 colleges, it works together to support the internationalization process of higher education institutions in India and in Nepal, promoting a comprehensive method based on strategy design, capacity building, development of structures, and networking. Named after 15th century Dutch philosopher and a Catholic theologist, one who wrote New Testament, Erasmus was a scholar of 15th century in Netherlands. And I had a privilege to visit his university in Rotterdam a couple of times. And it's one of the finest university in Europe. To me, the purpose of Erasmus program for higher education is to equip students of participant institutions with excellent knowledge proficiency so that they may function with clarity and efficiency in the modern world. But more importantly, this program will create the climate in a respective institutions so that students of these colleges, of these organizations, get rightly related to people, things, ideas, and to the whole of life. My compliments to all the individuals who have traveled distance to participate in this 3-day training. Also, I express my gratitude to all who have remained online to value add this deliberation. While we are building up higher educational institutions, we presupposes the existence of right ecosystems. We are not an island. We remain in society. So we need to presuppose a lot of things. And what do we presuppose? We presuppose the existence of a right ecosystem providing forward and backward integration support. In a way, we look forward to appropriate schools, universities, research institutions, and industries. And in any institutions, no one is larger than an institution. But growth and effective functioning of any institution, it depends upon the person at the helm of its affairs. I want to put my views in front of you as a management of a higher educational institute. And any institution building, it is like constructing a building that is simultaneously a work of creative expression and a model of functionality. Such a building requires artist vision, it requires designer skill, a strong foundation, good materials, and excellent workmanship. And the strength of such building to withstand a variety of shocks, it depends upon the quality of the structural support it gets. And in a context of institution building, the structural supports, what are the structural supports? They are its values, its culture, institutional processes, and governance system. The structural supports, it reflect the architect's vision, and hence a visionary leadership is vital to encourage and motivate people to attain the mission and vision of the institutions, and hence is instrumental in robust institutional building. For each of these aspects of an institutional building, there is a very clear-cut case study which I want to put it before you. The process of internationalization of higher education is not new in our country. Way back in 1965, I am just putting a case in front of you. Way back in 1965, Ravi Mathai, he was invited by a noted institution builder and a scientist, none other than Vikram Sarabhai, to join Indian Institute of Management at Ahmedabad as its full-time first director. He was only 38-year-old. And at that time, he did not have any advanced academic degree. Yet, over next 6 years period, only in 6-year period, he set the foundation for an institution that was to grow into a top-ranking management school known not only in our country, but across the globe. How did he do that? There are a number of reasons which are attributed to Ravi Mathai's enduring influence on Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. The first is a clear sense of purpose. See, we are all, shouldering this responsibility of providing higher education. So it is very, very important to know how this institution built. The first is a clear sense of purpose. IIMA's concern was with the application of knowledge. This meant that the institutions would be involved not only in teaching, but also in research and consulting. Hence, each and every faculty must engage in all the three activities. Secondly, his conviction that academic activities can only flourish when faculty are given fullest academic freedom. In an academic institutions, excellence cannot be ordered. We cannot order excellence in academic institution. Thirdly, the idea of faculty-governed institute, where decision-making process rests primarily with the faculty. The mechanism has been crucial in insulating the institute from other unhealthy influences. Lastly, what is perhaps Ravi Mathai's greatest gift to IIMA Ahmedabad and other institutions, that is the principle of single term for a directorship. This prevents undue advantage to leaders of academic institutions and ensures that director's position is not hierarchical. He is only first among equals. Despite having he was so popular, but he stepped down after serving this great institution for only 6 years. As the first full-time director of this institute, he experimented with number of ideas in education management. The position of IIMA today, in a large measure, is due to the success of his experimentation. The need for an hour is to have such experimentation at our institution. Every day, we have new challenges which are opening up before our students, and they have an entire world to conquer. In a fast-changing current scenario, when one can hardly afford stability, the Erasmus program will continue to guide all consortium institutions in fulfilling its objective. Our responsibility in supporting the internationalization process of higher education institutes in India and Nepal is aptly described in a favorite quote of Sarvajanik University's first provost, Percy. He's really fond of this quote and he quotes very often. He says, and it's very important, students do not care how much you know until he knows how much you care. And this is what, we have to learn out of the process of Erasmus too. May you all remain blessed. Happy, safe journey back home to all of you. But before I end and before I go back to my seat, there is one person to whom, while Mahendra Bhai is here and Mahendra Bhai is listening, I must compliment a very good friend of Mahendra Bhai who became instrumental in bringing Mahendra Bhai to Sarvajanik Education Society. I must thank Rohit Mehta for initiating this process 5 years ago. So with this I end. Thank you very much and best wishes to everyone.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring and visionary words. May I now please request Professor Percy Engineer, First Provost, Sarvajanik University, to present the report about the project.
Sir, the presentation will be on the slide, so may I request the dignitaries to please take their seats. I'm sorry for asking you to come and sit down, but we'll take a moment before the dignitaries take their seats in the audience so that we can start with the presentation. A very warm good afternoon to all the dignitaries of Sarvajanik Education Society. Also, warm welcome to all the invited participants of the consortium. And as mentioned by Kamlesh Bhai, our special gratitude to Rohit Bhai. I still remember that day when I got a call somewhere in 2015-16 from then the chairman Yatesh Bhai, that please come to society office, there are some visitors for internationalization. And I had Mahendra Bhai and Rohit Bhai sitting in his office, and I think that is what ignited this spark of SCET going towards internationalization, and this is where we are. This presentation is very important. All the 27 participants of InterNepInd project must have seen this presentation before, but I have tried to give a different storyline to it, so that we understand why there is a need of internationalization and why Sarvajanik Education Society took up this momentous charge and responsibility of going international. It is also important because there are other staff members of SCET, there are other staff members of Sarvajanik University, and there are other dignitaries of Sarvajanik Education Society whose blessings and supports we require so that we may actually take up this project of internationalization ahead. I hope everybody can see the presentation. This particular project of InterNepInd is a consortium of 5 institutions of higher education from India, that is Sarvajanik University, SCET, VESIM, NMRC Hyderabad, CVMU in Vidyanagar, SMAIT Vidyanagar, and also IPSA from Rajkot. And then we have two colleges from Nepal, that is Nepal Engineering College and Sagarmatha Engineering College. And we have this entire project is coordinated by UPCT Spain at Cartagena and supported by Aveiro University in Portugal. That's how this consortium has been formed to make this project ahead. Before I go ahead with the presentation, I just want you all to know what is the structure of the presentation. I'm going to talk to you what, why, how, and where is this internationalization. Why do we actually require internationalization? I'm also going to show you about some slides of NEP, and then of course about the InterNepInd project, that what is this InterNepInd project all about. Because unless you don't see this presentation, you will actually not understand. It is not just trying to send some students abroad for further studies or semester. There is much more beyond that. And that is what I would like to present. And I start my presentation. All of us know the value of education, because we know that education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. And therefore, even if we did not agree to this statement, none of us would have been present over here in such a big number, because we know and we believe in the power of higher education and the power of educators. Friends, we are into higher education not merely to disseminate knowledge, but to make a difference in the world. Higher education institutions provide solutions to regional and national problems. And they are also the think tanks that provide answers to the economic and social development issues. In fact, higher education institutions are the engines of any nation. And this we need to understand, that if our country's GDP is growing, it is not because of any leadership in the capital cities, but it is because of the contribution of education and educators. And therefore, higher education is the driver of economy, capital, technology, entrepreneurship, and vision of growth. Our vision and our objectives of higher education are very lofty. When I was making this presentation, my wife always asked me, why are you trying to put this one slide which is not so negative, which is so negative? And I said, no, it is not a negative slide. It is actually an eye-opener, because our objective of higher education is so lofty that this is the way we want to change the world. But the reality in India and Nepal is something like this. Only 14% of our institutes have NAC accreditation. And whichever institution have, 29% institution only have the rates of whatever value we consider a good one. And of the 50% students that we teach in professional courses, only 33% find employment. Employability is a big problem. So both employability and the quality are questionable. And the similar situation is also in Nepal. So I'm not going to mention India and Nepal separate, because now whatever scenario exists in India is the same that exists in Nepal. We must also understand that it is because of this reason we have more and more number of students going abroad for higher education. The figures by 2025 is going to be 8 million annually global outbound mobility for higher education. And this number is growing exponentially. But what is important to note here, that out of this huge number of students who go away to other countries for higher education, more than 50% students are from India and China. Now that is what is a matter of concern, that for us, the only option for a good, sustainable higher education is to go abroad. And that is what I wanted to present on this presentation for InterNepInd. This particular slide shows us the concentration of good higher education institutions where the students all over the world opt. What we see is major such institutions are concentrated in Eastern USA, Europe, and Australia. That means there is a big disparity in knowledge being distributed equally in the world. There are only 3 major pockets where the whole world would want to go and study. Now that is the scenario. And out of this very 50% of outgoing persons from India and China. Let me tell you, from the total population of India, it is only 2% of such students who get opportunity to go abroad for higher studies. That means 98% of remaining students do not get this opportunity of so-called quality higher education. Of course, we are not saying that our education is bad, but the education that is sought by majority of the students worldwide, it is only 2% that is from India who are getting this benefit. 98% people are not getting this benefit. And of course, it is the question of affordability. My slides will ultimately lead to you why we need to require internationalization. As I told you, I'm going to talk a different story about internationalization and InterNepInd. Maite is going to be a little surprised at why am I presenting this, but unless I don't present this, we will not understand why did we have to do a project of higher education, internationalization of higher education, specifically in India and Nepal. It's a demand of the day that we work on this particular issue. But when we know that only 2% of Indians get this opportunity, this is the world scenario. The world scenario, you talk about so-called Fortune 100 companies, and you talk about the top CEOs, they are all Indian. So they are the Indians who fall under the 2% population who got the opportunity. They studied in Indian institutions like IITs and IIMs, and then they went ahead abroad for higher education. My question is, if only 2% people got opportunity, and this is the international scenario where Fortune 100 companies, most of them are Indian CEOs, imagine this level of education was given to the other 98% of Indians too, or Nepal too. What would have been the world scenario? What would have been the scenario at India? Now, that is what I would like to highlight over here, that we require internationalization for a very definite purpose, and that is what is also defined under the Article 26.1 of Human Rights in United Nations, which talks about higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. This is important. That means not only those 2% who could afford should get good access to quality higher education, but it should be available to all on the basis of merit. And therefore, this is where lies the potential of internationalization. Internationalization does not mean that we have this many number of students going abroad for higher education, that we have this many numbers of MOU. When I see admission posters or boardings in the country, everybody is boasting on 500 MOUs with international universities, 200 MOUs, but that is not internationalization. Internationalization means you integrate the dimensions of international learning environment and standards within all higher education institutions across the globe. We remove this gap, we remove the disparity of knowledge and wisdom, and we believe in equality, and that the whole world, all the higher education institutions should be equipped to give quality education, and that is what internationalization is all about, according to me. And therefore, I'm just trying to put one point where we talked about quality. This particular slide, there are two phenomena that is expressed in this slide. One is climate change. And we all know that everybody is fighting struggle to take care of climate change. But can you imagine that if technology and knowledge is not available to third world country, do you think we can take care of global climate change? The third world country, if the knowledge is not available, will keep on increasing their carbon footprint, and we will never be able to tackle the issue of climate change. Therefore, it is so important that knowledge does not restrict in the cluster that we saw in USA, Europe, and Australia, but knowledge should be available across the globe. Then we'll be able to fight international problems like climate change. Similarly, this pandemic, we all saw that no single country could have alone done this job. We did lockdown, we did everything, but unless the technology and the research on vaccines was not shared with everybody, we could not have controlled this pandemic. With this slide, what I'm trying to tell you is the most important lesson from these two problems of the world is that we require free and easy exchange of knowledge, technology, and ideas. And that is what is important, that gaining knowledge is the first step to wisdom. But through the process of internationalization, we want to share it because that will be the first step towards humanity. So with this, I would like to present a technical definition of internationalization. What is internationalization of education? It means integration of global dimension. That comes under what? What is internationalization? How? Into the purpose of functions and delivery of education. Why do we want to do that? In order to enhance the quality of education and research. For whom we want to do that? For all the students and staff and teachers of the world. And the most important thing, why do we want to go for internationalization? The outcome is to make a meaningful contribution to the society. And that is exactly what internationalization should be defined as. We also know the process of globalization, right? And it is inevitable. We can't control it. It's one of the most biggest transformative forces. It has altered every conceivable aspect of our lives, including education. And therefore, internationalization of higher education is a response to the globalization in order to raise the quality of education, to catch up to the global standards with alignment of curriculum. I'm using the word alignment of curriculum to instill the type of skills to improve productivity. We see the way globalization is happening, and we see how urbanization is also happening. So unless we don't develop curriculums which can develop skills to improve productivity, we will be fighting a losing battle. And this is also essential for graduating students to navigate into this interconnected world. Now, no country or no education institutions can survive in isolation. Up till now, we always thought that student mobility is only one phase of internationalization, but there are many ways of internationalization, ranging from student mobility to research and production to mentoring, and ultimately establishing international standards of education inside the international institution. Just now when I was in Dubai at the Expo, I actually saw that the majority of the world universities were present, including 4 or 5 universities of India. And they actually were talking about establishing the centers in Dubai. And similarly, there were people who were interested in establishing centers in India. So internationalization will ultimately lead to also expanding our horizon, expanding our education fora beyond the boundaries of our campuses. And this is, though NEP came after 38 years, the National Education Policy. But even in NEP now, they are talking about internationalization. We have now realized that unless we don't adopt internationalization in higher education, there is no future. So NEP has a very major component of internationalization in their curriculum, in their guidelines. Before we proceed further, sorry, I think I should be changing the slides, but you are doing it. Yeah. Now I'm coming to the actual project. That when Jatish Bhai gave me a call and Rohit Bhai and Mahendra Bhai were all here, and then we took up the call because Sarvajanik Education Society's tagline, Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya, remove the darkness of ignorance through illumination. So naturally, we thought this could be a very right step forward to look at the world, just like the way Hardik explained the frog and the well. Unless we will not go out of the well, we will actually not know that the beautiful world exists outside the well. So immediately we took up this opportunity, and in 2016, 2017, 2018, we availed opportunities of KA1, KA2, KA3, where we could send number of students to UPCT for semester-long training of 6 months, for faculty members for week-long training over there. We had architects and teachers coming from UPCT and giving knowledge to all of us. So in a way, we had already initiated opportunities and started taking up the advantage of the European Union Erasmus projects. When we sent our first group of 40 students to Spain to make them understand properly and to absorb the knowledge, we also called a teacher from UPCT for 3 months to teach Spanish language. Now that is the level where Sarvajanik Education Society would like to go when they want to adopt internationalization, that we don't mind inviting a teacher to teach the language. I'm just trying to highlight the point that this is what is the showcase of how eager we are at Sarvajanik Education Society to adopt internationalization. Now I come to the Erasmus Plus project. The advantage that we took the projects, Erasmus Plus is an European Union program to support education, training, youth, and sport in Europe. And there are three key sections. KA1, that is learning mobility. Under this program, we went over there to UPCT a couple of times. The second one, that is cooperation among organizations and institutions. That is where we are doing this InterNepInd project. This whole InterNepInd project comes under the title of KA2. And KA3 is support for policy reform, because it is not just training, but you also have to have policies so that the internationalization practices are sustainable in your organization. KA2 supports the capacity building in higher education. It was under this project, KA2 project, we did this InterNepInd project through multicultural partnership between institutions of higher education. And it has its target outreach to the third countries. This is important. In this KA2, this target institutions are not the European institutions. This is only for institutions that they do not belong to Europe. And therefore, India and Nepal came into the picture. So Europe now understands that there is possibility of great minds in India and Nepal, but if we can also invest in India and Nepal and help them getting the internationalization of education, there will be a win-win situation. It will be a global win-win situation. Therefore, under this KA2, we did this InterNepInd project. This InterNepInd consortium works together for internationalization of higher education institutions in India and Nepal, promoting capacity building and creating opportunities for all stakeholders. This project is co-funded by Erasmus Plus program and European Union. KA2, that is 2019, the project that we are doing is a capacity building in higher education and consortium of European, Indian, and Nepal institutions. This particular project is a 30-month long project. It is co-funded by European Union. And we had to have several extensions of this project because of the corona. And what are we going to do in this project? Development of internationalization strategies, creation of reinforcement of international offices in India and Nepal. This is important. Under this project, it is not only trying to tell us what to do, but they also helped us financially to establish international office in our organization. The laptop that you are seeing that I am using, the laptop that you are seeing that they are using, and the laptop that the master of ceremony is using is also bought from the funds given by European Union under the Erasmus project in InterNepInd. And the projector that you are seeing on that particular slide, even that is bought from that funding. And the whole office setup is done from European Union funding. That is what I'm trying to say. And then they gave us training of one international officer in UPCT for 1 month. That is where Hardik Gandhi went over there. So idea was to first tell us how to do it, then to establish an office, and then to train us that how this should continue as a future endeavor at your organization. And then the most important thing is networking. When Hardik was over there, they gave him an opportunity to sign, along with all the international officers of all the other institutions. We were given an opportunity to sign MOUs with 8 European universities, bilateral collaborations, exchange programs, curriculum upgradation. And if everything works out well, we still have 1 more month of the project. And I've just talked to the project coordinator that because of Corona, we only had 1 month in Spain, and that 1 month of Portugal training is left. I just give a proposal that why don't we have representative from all of us going and visiting these 8 universities of EUT, because we already have an MOU. We can only visit them for 2 days each, but at least then put the MOUs on ground and execute it and make sure that 1-to-1 we get committed to our MOUs. I hope the proposal goes ahead, and the last day of the project is 14th of May. But I hope before that we could utilize this fund. Pardon, sir? Yeah, because I mentioned that in the afternoon and she had to talk to an international coordinator, Mr. Rafael. And let me tell you the good news that he has agreed to it. Okay. Then we will propose it, and now it is up to the European Union office in the Belgium to approve it. But if that is approved, it will be a great opportunity for all of us. About the InterNepInd project, it was divided into 6 parts. WP1, which was coordinated by SCET and NEC in Nepal, where we begin with understanding the best practices in higher education institution. That means we did a survey that which countries and which institutions in India are actually doing internationalization. So we had a survey, then Corona came, but we did not stop our work and we did entire survey online and we had amazing results, let me tell you. I'll explain the results later on. Then we had the work package 2, where we made strategic plans to take internationalization ahead in our institution. And the work package 3, WP3, was training of international officers. That also got completed. We sent all of them for 1 month. And then WP4, that is establishment of international office, that is also completed. Today also we inaugurated and the office is ready. And WP5 and WP6 are dissemination of the project and management. Today what we are doing is trying to tell people what is this project about. But what is important is that today is not the last day, but today is the first day, because now we have established the office, we have trained the person, we have the equipment, we have the networking. So now it depends on us how much ahead we can take the entire process of internationalization. And then once we did this InterNepInd project, we defined the timeline, and 2022 was the end time. So I will just tell you how we started. We started with a kickoff meeting in Nepal, in Kathmandu, in 2019 December. And from India, myself was one of the participants from SCET. Hardik Gandhi was one of the participants. Dr. Hirenbhai Patel, the principal of Engineering College, was one of the participants. And the management was then represented by Mr. C.S. Jariwala. So 4 of us went to Nepal along with 4 persons from each institution, and representatives and trainers from Spain and Portugal came over here. And we started a kickoff meeting. Let me tell you, this whole process of internationalization, it was a learning for me. Any project, how do you plan a project? How you structure a project? And unless you are not ready with a plan, nothing happens. So I learned, at least when I was there for 4 days, that before doing anything, you need to plan. And therefore, we structured the entire 2-year project. Of course, as I explained, WP1 was learning from the best practices in the internationalization of higher education in India. What we studied over here was important. We analyzed the best practices, and based on the best practices, we made our SIPs, a systematic plan, proposals for how we want to take it ahead. By this time, the pandemic had struck, so naturally, we did everything online. And what we realized in this finding is that under the name of internationalization, majority of the institution was not actually doing internationalization. Except sending few students abroad every year is not internationalization. We realized that our curriculums are not mapped. Say suddenly after 2 years of study, we want to go and study for the remaining 2 years. Our credits were not possible to be accepted. Neither we accepted their credits, neither they accepted our credits. So internationalization process also talks about easy access and acceptance of credits, mapping of curriculum, upgrading of our curriculum, upgrading of our resources in terms of human, in terms of teachers, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of campus preparation. So what we tried to study in WP1 is that how many institutions are ready with good practices of internationalization. The findings were not so good, not very promising, but the findings really helped us that if we had to do internationalization in India and Nepal, what should be the method? So we did that study in WP1. Yeah. And then in WP2, we prepared the strategic internationalization plan. And let me tell you, great efforts were given by the experts from UPCT and Aveiro, and trying to share their experiences that how they have a well-established international office and how they cater to thousands of students every year coming from across the globe. And that is what we see as future, that in future in all of our universities, including Sarvajanik University, it should be an international campus. At least 30% of our students should be from other countries, because that is what will give multicultural dimension to the campus, and that will actually give a meaningful global education, which is our mission statement of Sarvajanik Education Society. As WP2, as I said, we made the strategies, and these are the front page image. Our strategies were passed in our governing boards, also was passed in the authorities of European Union, and based on that policy, now we'll be executing the internationalization at our respective institutions. For implementations of strategies of WP2, following actions need to be taken. And therefore, we also have the worthy persons of management, not only sitting here, but also online in all the institutions over here. We need to create platform to spread awareness and for creating pool of knowledge for internationalization. We need to create a pool of knowledge, develop research facility and advancement programs for staff and students, effective engagement and outreach program, and the most important, a comprehensive excellence through capacity building of staff, as well as infrastructure and contents that is in curriculum, as well as in campus. The operational plan of WP2 was phased in two phases. The first phase of our SIP talks about developing and building of human resource involved in the process of internationalization in partner institution. And the second phase is related to the actual implementation of internationalization strategies like campus collaborations, staff and student mobility, and dual degree programs. It is not necessary that all the 98% also need to go abroad for higher degrees, but we can have dual degree program because there is compatibility of our curriculum. So for example, a student doing BE computer with us, he can also do a BE in artificial intelligence from say some university like UPCT, and there could be a joint curriculum that could be designed so that without going and spending money abroad, he can get a degree and knowledge which is recognized world over and which is in terms of quality at par with the best institution in the world. So that is ultimately what we will be looking for when we talk about internationalization of our institutions at India and Nepal. As WP3, the international officers of partner institutions were trained at UPCT from 22nd November to 21st of December 2021. This program was actually 2 months long, 1 month in Spain and 1 month in Portugal. But during the time they left from here, Portugal had 15 days of quarantine for any visitors. So when the project says 2 months and say you do 1 month in Spain and then you go to Portugal, then 15 days you had to be quarantined. Now that was not affordable for even the staff, neither the budget permitted that. So we reduced that training to only 30 days, but they were given exhaustive training of 30 days to all the international officers. These are few images of their training over there. And this is also how we signed our MOUs with the other 8 universities, that is the Cyprus University and Technology of Cyprus, Darmstadt University and Applied Science of Germany, Riga Technical University of Latvia, Technological University of Dublin, Ireland, Technical University of Sofia in Bulgaria, UPCT of Spain, Technological University of Troyes in France, and Technology University of Cluj, that is Napoca in Romania. So these are the 8 universities that have signed MOU with us, and the proposal that I have just given in the afternoon is that at least 2-day visit of international officers or whoever you want may visit this institution only for 2 days, but in 2 days they can interact and they can bring something actually on the ground and start execution. And through these MOUs, we will be trying to develop incoming and outgoing mobility. Everybody thinks that we are only interested in outgoing mobility, but the reality is now we are also interested in incoming mobility. We also want their students to come and study over here. And that is the kind of capacity we want to develop. Collaborations on teaching and training programs, research opportunities, bilateral agreement. And of course, there are beautiful scholarship schemes available under Erasmus+. This is the training that was given yesterday, how to apply for these grants, how to apply for these projects. If somebody is really wise and invest on a full-time international officer who only works on trying to bring projects, grants, and scholarship, I can tell you 25% of the total university budget can come from here. It is that amount of funds available, but we need to actually apply in the right way for the right purpose with the right intention. These are few of the officers that went for international office training to Spain. Professor Jyoti Gill, Professor Hardik Gandhi, Divya Malla from Hyderabad, and Gaurang from Rajkot. I have the readings, their observations, but I don't want to go in detail because I have taken a little longer time. And then we have, sorry. We also have the other three from other institutions, also from Nepal. So finally, let us see what have we achieved in this InterNepInd project. We developed and approved at institutional level 7 strategic internationalization plan. This is what we got as part of this project. We created 7 international offices across these 7 institutions. We appointed and trained 7 international officers in all these institutions. We signed 7 MOUs with European Universities of Technology, including UPCT. We submitted, this is important, we submitted 2 capacity building projects in the last call coordinated by SU at SCET and with participation from InterNepInd partners. Yeah, we also had the IAS application of Erasmus Plus, that is KA171 project of UPCT and University of Murcia to get mobility grant for student and staff. That also we have already applied. We also published a paper based on the results of the report of best practices in the internationalization of higher education institutions in India and Nepal in the IOSR journal. We published 30 posts in the InterNepInd blog about the project activity and questions related to internationalization. And the most important thing, we created a regional network. See, up till now, every institution, if, for example, there are some institutions which I will not name it, but if I call them that, do you have contact with this institution? Can you share their contact? They will not. What we could create is that there is such a mutual cooperation between all of us that we created a network of our internationalization. And this network is going to be a win-win situation for all of us. Besides training the consortium, I must also tell you that we also applied for few more projects for Erasmus Plus in 2022. That is in Strand 1. We applied for a project that is fostering equality and inclusivity in higher education for disadvantaged students through remote learning in case of India. And the total project worth for which we applied is 400,000 euros. We hope that the European Union approves this project. It will take some few months, but we have already applied. In Strand 3, we also applied for a project, but this is with the consortium, with the team that we applied, that mainstreaming and upscaling coherent and sustainable higher education institution ecosystem for climate and social responsive educational system and curriculum in the field of design and construction in India. And the total budget is 900,000 euros. So this is the project work that we have applied for. And I must also tell you, 2 years ago, just during the corona, there was one international mobility opportunity available. So we had applied in 2020 for 2 staff, Wabiz and Rikta. But because of corona, they could not do selection. But we just got a letter from them that Wabiz is selected for going to Spain for the International Week in July 2022, which will be a mobility plan of 2020. So that is one more thing that because of InterNepInd project, we could manage this time. And this is the team that worked for this project. We had people from civil engineering SCET, we had persons from Hemlatal from Luthra, we had Charmi from SRKI, we had Pratik Waghela from Luthra College, we had Maulin Joshi from electronic and communication. So with this team, we could apply for these 2 projects that I just mentioned. And today, with this fund that we got from European Union, we also inaugurated the international office the cubicle that we had at the staff room of architecture department is now converted into an international office for Hardik Gandhi, and there stands the printer, the plotter, the projector, the laptops that has been funded by European Union. What is the way forward? The way forward is time for implementation. We are now ready with the operational plans of our strategic implementation plan. And these plans have been focused for 2022 and 2023. So with this 2 years plan in place, we need to just strategically go ahead and execute it. And then we are sure that we are actually going in a very systematic and technical way towards internationalization. Follow our project. This is where, can I have the next? Yeah. This is the links on which you can follow the projects of InterNepInd as well as Erasmus Plus. And finally, I'm at the end of my presentation, so I will give a big thanks to all the InterNepInd consortium, to all of you for attending this project. I will also thank the InterNepInd project partners and the coordinators for giving us an opportunity from the InterNepInd team. And thanks to all the InterNepInd partners, that is UPCT, Avero, Vivekananda Education Society of Institute of Management, Sagarmatha Engineering College, Nepal Engineering College, Indubai Parekh School of Architecture, SMAID in Vidyanagar, and all the other 8 institutions. With this, this is of course on behalf of the InterNepInd team at SCET. I thank you all for attending this program. Thank you very much, and thanks to all persons who joined online. I'm sorry I took a little longer time, but I thought it was very important to present this project in the right perspective so that everybody understands and also hopes for a better internationalization practice at SCET. Thank you very much.
Thanks much, Professor Percy Engineer, for the insights. May I now please ask Professor Beatrice Martin, Head of International Office, UPCD, to present the concluding.
Good afternoon, everyone. Namaste. Dear Mr. Rajesh Desai, Chairman of the Sarvajanic Education Society, Mr. Kamlesh Yagnik, President of Sarvajanic University, Professor Percy Engineer, First Provost of the institution, authorities, colleagues from partner universities, dear friends. Almost 3 years after the beginning of InterNepInd project, I think it is fair to say that we have created a solid and close alliance between partners, professional and friendship alliance that we are sure will last for a long time. But in any case, it has helped us not only to achieve the objective of taking a step forward in the internationalization of higher education institutions in India and Nepal, but also to improve our work at the UPCT. I would like to take this opportunity to thank, first of all, our friend Mahendra Bhai for his constant support and kindness, and for making the creation of this consortium possible. Of course, to my colleagues Maite and Marina, without whose effort and commitment this would never have been achieved. And also thanks to all of you, because you have been an example of good work, professionalism, and effort, and for having made this month's journey of work so pleasant. We were really honored and lucky to have you here in Cartagena last December. With you, we learned to improve our professional skills, and we also realized that so much effort was really worthwhile. That was the sentence that Maite said once and again all the time. Bea, I think this was really worthwhile. She was so happy. We were so happy to work with you and to see the importance of this collaboration. We really regret not having been able to be with you during these days, these 3 intense days. We would have loved to enjoy the lighting, the lamp event, the floral greetings, the work sessions, the evening party, especially the evening party. But we hope that in the near future, we will meet again for another international challenge together, without pandemic, I hope, without wars, without crisis. But as Professor Percy Engineer said during his presentation, I think the ultimate spirit of these international Erasmus projects is the improvement of the world as we know it today. So let's keep helping to do it through the powerful tool of education, through our best daily work. And finally, on behalf of Universidad Politécnica de Cartagena, I want to give my special thanks to Sarvajanic University and all its members for hosting this beautiful event, and congratulations for the opening of your international office and all the goals achieved. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Professor Beatrice. No duty is more urgent than giving thanks. Beautifully quoted by James Elliot. And on this note, may I please invite Professor Nehal Desai to express gratitude to Mr. Rajesh Desai, Chairman, Sarvajanik Education Society. May I please request Professor Mahesh Nagesha. May I please request Professor Neeraj Nayak to offer the memento to Mr. Kamlesh Yagnik, President, Sarvajanik University. May I please request Mr. Bharat Shah, Vice Chairman 1 SES, to accept the memento from Pratik Singh Vadela, SR Luthra. May I please invite Professor Mahesh Triwadi to express gratitude to Mr. Ashish Vakil, Vice Chairman to Sarvajanik Education Society. May I please invite Ms. Ketal Shah to offer the memento to Professor Dr. Jayabadi, Registrar, Sarvajanik University. As we are proceeding towards the end of the program, I would request Professor Wabit Engineers, CAT, to extend vote of thanks to the gathering.
Good evening, distinguished dignitaries on and off the dais, participants of the consortium from India, Nepal, Spain, Portugal, faculty members of Sarvajanik University, students, and all invited guests. I am honored to be given this privilege of proposing the vote of thanks. Usually, a traditional vote of thanks involves saying, thank you for coming here, thank you for your presence, thank you for this, thank you for that, but I'm not going into all that because this got me thinking, what is the use of a vote of thanks? Why do we give a vote of thanks in the first place? I'm not grateful because I'm happy, but I am happy because I am grateful. So it is a way of expressing our gratitude. And the story which came to me as most relevant comes from the Bible. The story goes that Jesus Christ went about healing the sick, the diseased, the blind, and even he had compassion for lepers, people who were suffering from leprosy, because in those times, lepers were the outcasts of society. Nobody got involved with them. They were not accepted as part of society. They lived very far off from all settlements and stuff like that. But Jesus Christ had compassion even for the lowliest of the people, which are the lepers. and he is supposed to have cured 10 lepers. Out of the 10, only one came back to thank him and said, "Thank you for helping me, thank you for healing me." And it is said that Christ said to him, "Rise and go. It is not me, but your faith which has made you whole again." And that is why I would like to thank Erasmus Consortium for having faith in us. We thank the Universidade Politécnica de Cartagena UPCT and Aveiro University, Portugal, for selecting us as partners in this project and having faith in us. I think because they reposed so much faith in us, we were able to pull it off and we were able to make it a success. I would also like to thank Sarvajanik Education Society, the management, the trustees, the entire body for having faith in us and giving us the go-ahead and the permission for executing this project. The faith that SCAT will lead the internationalization process and continue the Sarvajanik tradition of Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya, leading people from darkness to light. So thank you once again, Sarvajanik Education Society. The Chairman, SES, Shri Rajesh Desai, Vice Chairman 1, Shri Bharat Shah, Vice Chairman 2, Shri Ashish Vakil, President Sarvajanik University, Shri Kamlesh Yagnik, Provost Sarvajanik University, Professor Percy, Registrar Dr. Jay Bargi, Principal SCAT Dr. Hiren Patel. I have taken something from the Western tradition. Now I would like to give you something from the Indian tradition, our Indian mythology, which is so full of valuable lessons for us. For this, I will go to Devdutt Patnaik. He is my favorite mythologist. I'm very fond of his books, and I was given one such book by Percy Engineer. And when I read it, it was about stories of the Ramayana and what lessons does the Ramayana hold for us. So one such very relevant story which came to me was about Ram, Lakshman, and Sita when they come back from exile. Vanvas mein se jab wo wapas aate hain. So Ram decides that he has to reward people who have helped him throughout this long Vanvas of 14 years. So he decides to hold a feast. And feast for who? Especially the Vanar Sena, because they were instrumental in helping him get Vijay or victory over Ravan. So this is when he holds the feast and he tells Sita about it. Sita agrees. And Sita says, but I have a special plan for Hanuman. Because if you know the story, Hanuman was the one who rescued Sita. He was instrumental in saving her. So she says, I'm going to hold a special feast for Hanuman. So agar Vanar Sena is going to be fed, 1,000 people of the Vanar Sena are going to be fed. She says, I'm going to feed Hanuman a special meal in which special dishes will be prepared, and it will be a meal which he will always remember all his life and stuff like that. So Ram agrees to it, and finally on the day of the feast, the entire Vanar Sena is sitting down to have this or enjoy this banquet. And of course, there is Hanuman in a corner. He is given a special place of privilege, and he keeps eating, and he keeps eating, and he keeps eating. And he eats so much that Sita is now worried that he has consumed food not just for himself, but he's even consuming the food that was meant for the rest of the Vanar Sena. So she's really dismayed. She's very upset, and she rushes to Ram. She says, Bhagwan, you have to help me in this, kyunki agar Hanuman has set his mind on eating, wo sab kuch kha jayenge and a whole lot of our guests will go hungry. So Ram says, don't worry. All you have to do is take a leaf of tulsi, write Jai Shri Ram on it, and place it on his plate when he's eating. And that is exactly what she does. She takes a piece of tulsi, a leaf of tulsi, she writes Jai Shri Ram, and she places it. The moment Hanuman consumes that tulsi leaf, he gives a loud burp, he belches, and he says, Ab mera pet bhar gaya. I cannot eat even 1 grain of rice more. So this is how Sita is saved from humiliation. But what's the story behind this? What do we learn from this? The important value that we learn from this is that it is not kitni thanks dete ho. How much do you thank in terms of quantity, in terms of material things, in terms of the length of your words, in terms of how many things you are going to enumerate, but the spirit in which you give the thanks. And it is with this spirit that I come before you. It is with this spirit of gratitude that I come with you. So we really cannot count the kind of endless support, the endless guidance, the trainings, the coordinations, the funds, everything that we have had from Team UPCT Cartagena and Team Aveiro in Portugal, as well as the Erasmus project. From Team UPCT and Aveiro, a special thank you to Maite, Marina, Jose Molina, Beatriz, Martha, Christian. All those patient guiding lessons that you gave us will always hold us in good stead. You have held our hand at every stage of the project. Our partner institutes, NMREC India, VESIM India, SMAID India, IPSA India, NEC Nepal, and Sagarmatha Engineering College, Nepal. We all learned together, we made mistakes together, we supported each other, and we also had a lot of fun together. So a big thank you to all of you. From Team SCET, Professor Hardik, a workaholic to the last degree, he will see that everything is executed exactly as per instructions, as per the project. And if you get a ping from WhatsApp at 5 in the morning, I think the camera at about be completed, you can be pretty sure it is either from Hardik or from Professor Percy. So that's the kind of contribution, that's the kind of dedication he brings to his work. In Neeraj, we have Ved Vyas and Valmiki, the wise intellectual, the script director of most of our projects. A big thank you to Neeraj. We have Mehul, Professor Mehul. He is the Lakshman of our Ramayan. Koi bhi chota mota kaam ho, for all, while we are busy working on the project, he's always taking care of all the small things, all the odd jobs that need to be done, all the details are always under his tutelage and supervision. Professor Pratik of Luthra Institute and Professor Mahesh, both have been pillars for us in this project. We thank you. For the back-end office, back-end work, we have to thank Professor Palke and Professor Kunjan for the program, also Professor Sarupa. Of course, we have Hetal, our admin office staff, who works tirelessly for us 24/7, not just on working days, but she is working for us throughout the week, and especially at times like these programs and functions. I think the admin staff, that is Parul, Hetal, everybody is just working 24/7. Our students, our Vanar Sena and our strength, they are always there for us, taking care of our guests. I think you have shown, students, congratulations, you have shown wonderful hospitality. You've been a wonderful support system for us every time. For all the delicious meals that you enjoyed, for all the full stomachs on which we had to work in the afternoons, we have to thank Professor Bhavna and Professor Sarupa, as well as Ketan Bhai. A big thank you to them too. Our assistants, Mukesh, Rajesh, Arvind Bhai, Umesh and Babu Bhai, who not only work tirelessly for us throughout the week, but on special occasions like this and programs and functions, we couldn't do without them, that's for a fact. And they always do it with a smile, not out of a sense of duty, but always willingly and with a big smile on their face. So we are always eternally grateful to them. And last but not the least, our Hanuman, Professor Percy. He is the go-to man for everything. We land in a soup, we go to him. For support, we go to him. He has given us, we thank him, especially for all the freedom that he gives us in executing our work. So for that, I would like to thank you, Hanumanji. Also, a big thank you to Mr. Mahendra Mistry and Mr. Rohit Bhai, who have been like guiding beacons for us through all these times. And to Shri C.S. Jariwala Sahib, Shri Kashyap Mehta, Shri Kamlesh Yagnik, Shri Rajesh Desai, and Shri Hiren Patel, who once again showed great faith in us and encouraged us to undertake such a project in the first place. To all the SCAD family and IDPT members who have supported us and helped us whenever we were busy with project work, my big thank you to you two and the media for giving us coverage and for this event. Thank you one and all for being here today. This may be a conclusive event, but it is not the end, and I promise it's definitely a new beginning in the path of internationalization. Thank you. Yes, of course, I should not forget to thank the SU staff who have always been for us whenever we needed them. We just have to make a phone call. They're only a phone call away for all the work that we need to get executed. And the Master of Ceremonies, Sanaya, as well as Vaishali Ben.
Before we end our program, there is a small formality I would like to do with so much of pleasure. I must tell you, I am so grateful to Ratni Kaka. In spite of your ill health, you specially came and honored us with your presence. And I'll be missing on my duties if I don't recognize with gratefulness. May I request Bobis to please offer a small memento of gratefulness to our President Ratnikant Bhai Marfatia. I will request our Principal Dr. Hirenbhai Patel to express our memento of gratitude to our Vice President Dr. Dumasya Saib. Thank you very much to all of you for gracing this function. Can we all rise for the national anthem? Jana Gana Mana Adinayak Jaya Hai Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravid Uchchal Banga Vindhya Himachal Yamuna Ganga Uchchal Jaladi Taranga Tava Shubh Name Jaaye तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाए तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय है भारत भाग्य विधाता जय है जय है जय है जय 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 है. Can I request Durga Prasad ji and Ramesh ji, can you please come forward? We would also like to sing the Nepalese national anthem. I will request all the dignitaries also online to kindly. So we have our partners from Nepal institution singing the national anthem.
Soinyo tunga fulka हामी एउटै माला नेपाली सार्वभौमै फैलिएका मेची महाकाली प्रकृतिका कोटि कोटि सम्पदाको आँचल वीरहरूका रगतले स्वतन्त्र र अटल ज्ञान भूमि शान्ति भूमि तराई पहाड हिमाल अग्रगामी राष्ट्र हाम्रो हिमाल बहुजाति भाषा धर्म संस्कृति छ विशाल अग्रगामी राष्ट्र हाम्रो जय जय नेपाल.
Thank you very much. As we end our function, can I request you all to please join us for the high tea?